Let us now look at the next sutram, which is the next sutram in the Ashtadhyayi order, Supisthaha. Supisthaha. We just studied the sutram 323, which is Ato Nupasarge Kaha, Ato Nupasarge Kaha. And immediately the next sutram in the Ashtadhyayi is Supisthaha. Very simple sutram, also a very important sutram because a number of words are derived from this sutram. So this sutram is actually not in the Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi, but still it will be nice if you can be familiar with this sutram because there are a number of forms which we need this sutram to derive those forms. Okay, there's one peculiar thing about this sutram is that the technique of yoga vibhagaha is employed here. This technique is employed when the grammarians, the Vyakarana Parampara, feels that there is a need to split a sutram into two parts. To split a sutram, there is a reason for that, because by splitting a sutram, we are able to bring or cover some other cases which would not have been possible had the sutram been kept as it is. So Supistaha in the Ashtadhyayi is listed as a single sutram, but the Parampara has it as split and made into two rules, which is Supi and Sthaha. And we will see now why it is done that way. It is to allow us to derive forms in the language which we would not have been able to derive had we kept the sutram as a single sutram. And the vritti explains all of this. So if you look at the vritti, it says that supiti yogo vibhajyate. Yoga in this case means shastram, means sutram actually. Niyamaha, this rule is vibhajyate, is split. And how is it split? Supi iti means as supi. So the portion supi is split out as a separate sutram. Separate sutram. And the meaning of that part, supi, which is now taken as an individual sutram, the meaning of that sutram supi is supi upapade adantat kaha syat. Now recall that the prior sutram itself, which we studied, which is 323, it says ato nupasarge kaha. And the vritti of ataha and kaha is coming from the prior rule, which we just studied. So the meaning of this first part of the sutram, which is now a individual taken as a individual sutram, which is supi. It says supi upapade. Now all this is familiar to us. Upapade means tatrapadam saptami stham from 3192. So what it means is that this affix kaha is being prescribed on the condition that there is a word in composition which ends in a sup affix. Sup affixes, of course, we know from 412, which is so, just, some, out, etc. Those 21 called case inflections or the nominal endings, which we are very, very familiar with. So when we have a padam which is in composition and the padam is ending in a sup affix, not necessarily in the this is not necessarily karmanya upapade. It's only supi upapade. Could be any case ending, not only the second case ending. Could be any case ending. So this is a more general sutram in terms of the upapadam. This only needs any upapadam which is having a sup ending, while the prior sutram ato nupasarge kaha, that required karmani. Karmanya upapade, because karmanya anuvritti is starting from 3 to 1, karmanyan, while this one says supi. So please note that difference is that this sutram doesn't require karmanya upapade. It, as long as any subantam is the upapadam, this sutram may be applied. So this is the first part, supi, which is split out to make a standalone rule, and it says supi upapade when in composition with a padam which ends in a sup affix, adanta dhatoho, following a dhatu ending in a akaraha, same as what we had in the prior sutram. Kaha, the affix ka the Kridanta Pratyaya ka is been prescribed. And then the remaining part is taken as a separate rule. The remaining part is sthaha. So vritti says tataha sthaha. And the meaning of that part is supi tishtatehe kaha syat. Again, the same thing, supi. Now, supi will come as anuvritti. Supi comes as anuvritti from the prior. We split this rule into two parts, supi and sthaha. So, in the sutram sthaha, anuvritti of supi comes from the prior rule now, which is supi. So, the meaning of the sutram sthaha now becomes supi, which comes as anuvritti from the prior sutram. Tishtatehe, this dhatu stha, which is shtha gati nivritto, which we have used many times. The same affix kaha is prescribed. And it says arambha samarthyad bhave. Arambha samarthyad bhave. Okay, what does that mean? It means that if we just say that the affix ka is prescribed after the dhatu stha, supi upapade, then what is the need for this sutram? Because the prior sutram supi itself covers that case. Now, before we go on, let's remind ourselves that all these krit pratyaha, all the krit affixes, these participles, unless stated otherwise, are used to denote the agent of the action, kartari. So this is from 3467, which we've been reminding ourselves all the time, is that kartari krit. Kartari krit. That's always the starting point. Unless stated otherwise, every krit affix is used to denote the agent of the action, the one who's doing the action. So now, if we since we already have the sutram supi, what is the point of having the sutram stha again? Because of course stha ends in a akaraha. So if we are just going to say that the affix ka may be used after the dhatu stha, supyupade, when we have a subantam as the upapadam, then that case is already covered by the prior rule supi. So this second sutram stha would become useless. But it is not useless. There is a reason. There is a prayojanam for this second sutram also. And that is what the vritti says. Arambha samarthyad bhave. Okay. So arambha samarthya, the fact that this sutram is there, sthaha, means that it conveys an additional meaning, a special meaning, which is that in this case, following the dhatu stha, the affix ka may be used not just kartari, which is the prior sutram will do that, but it may be used now bhave. What is bhave? Bhave. See, when in general, when Panini prescribes a role, prescribes an affix, a pratyaya, and doesn't give the artha nirdeshaha, doesn't give a meaning in which this affix is to be used, then it becomes swarte. Swarte means without changing the meaning. Now, this affix is being prescribed after a dhatu. When you say swarte, in the case of a verbal root, a dhatu, what can it mean? It can mean just to denote the meaning of that dhatu. The meaning of dhatu means the action conveyed by that dhatu. So that means that is how the grammarians have come up with this, that this sutram sthaha now will allow the affix ka to be used after this verbal root stha in the sense of bhave also, just to denote the action of the verbal root stha, not the agent, because the agent is already covered by the prior rule supi. That will take care of the cases when you want to denote the agent, because that sutram supi covers all verbal roots which end in akara, including stha. Now the second part, sthaha, in order to have some meaning, in order to have a purpose, the second sutram sthaha is interpreted to mean that the affix ka may be used following the dhatu stha in the meaning of bhave also, Bhave means just to denote the action conveyed by the verbal root stha. So, and when we take the example, it will be clear what exactly we are meaning. The vritti that we put in English here is that this rule is split into two parts, we just discussed. The first part is supi, and the meaning of that part is when in composition with a padam which ends in a supaffix. Supaffixes are, as we know, described by 412, swav, jas, maut, etc. So the upapadam may end in any supaffix, not necessarily karmanya upapade, not necessarily in the second case affix, but in any supaffix. Then what happens? A verbal root which ends in akaraha, anuvrittikam from the prior sutram, ataha. So adanta dhatoho may take the affix ka. And then the second part, which is stha, that is taken as a separate rule, stha. That is the second part, and that meaning of that is that when in composition with a padam which ends in a supaffix, this is same as before, but now the verbal root stha, which in dhatu pahata is listed as shtha gati nivruttau, may take the affix ka to denote the action itself, which is bhave, and not the agent of the action, because the agent of the action, that case is already covered by the prior rules supi. Okay, let's take a couple of examples to make this application clear. The first example we're taking here is dvabhyam pibati iti dvipaha. Dvabhyam pibati iti dvipaha. Derived from the dhatuhu papane. Pa is to drink. Now this Vigraha Vakyam says that someone who drinks using two instruments. This means an elephant, gajaha, because elephant drinks with its trunk and then with the mouth. It takes the water with the trunk and then puts in the mouth. So dabhyam pibati, dabhyam karanabhyam, with two instruments he drinks. So this is a word which means an elephant. Now if we have a adanta dhatu, which is here pa pane, and we also have a subantam, which is dvabhyam, as the upapadam. Now one more time is that in the prior rules which we were studying, which is 321, 323, they required karmanya upapade. They required the object of the verb to be the upapadam. But this sutram supi now requires only any subantam, but upapadam, not necessarily the object of the action. So dvabhyam is not the object of the drinking. That is not what is being drunk. He is drinking with two, means two instruments, the trunk and the mouth. So dvabhyam. So this is a subantam. So it qualifies as the upapadam for the sutram supi. And we do have adanta dhatu, a dhatu ending in akara. So now we can use the sutram supi to prescribe the affix ka. So we get dvi plus bhyam plus pa plus ka. So because of the sutram tatra papadam saptami stham, which we have been using, 3192, tatra papadam saptami stham, is that these affixes which are prescribed using a saptamyantam padam in the sutram or as anuvrittihi, these affixes may be used only on the condition that they are in composition with the appropriate upapadam. And right now the upapadam for us is supi, a subantam padam. So we are using this affix ka on the condition that there is a upapadam which ends in a supaffix. So dvi plus bhyam and then pa plus ka by the sutram supi, which we have split out from supistaha. We have made supi as a separate sutram. Now derivation is straightforward. Is here supi in the sutram ends in the locative case in the seventh case. Hence dvi bhyam geshti upapad-sanya by tatropapadam saptami stham, because supi is ending in the saptami bhakti. So dvi plus bhyam geshti upapad-sanya. And then we do anubandha lopaha for in the affix ka. the initial kakaraha is an it balashakpatadyate, then tasya lopaha, and this affix ka is a sakshat, is a kit. It has kakara as an it, and that allows the sutram ato lopa iticha. This derivation part is similar to what we had in the prior sutram. So now we use ato lopa iticha because we have a ardhadhatuk pratyaya, in this case ka, which is anubandha lope akaraha. It's ajanta pratyaya, sorry, ajadi pratyaya. It begins with the vowel, and it is a kit pratyaya that allows us to apply the anga karyam, which is 6464 ato lopa iticha, and by alontyasya, the ending, the paribhasha sutram alontyasya, we remove the ending akaraha of pa, and so now we have dvi plus bhyam plus pa plus a, so dvi bhyam pa. And now we do the compounding between dvi bhyam, which is the upapadam, and pa, which is the kridantam. And the sutram which is used is upapadam ating, same as before. This part is nothing new. So upapadam ating, and now dvibhyam is the upapadam, and hence it gets the upasajana sanya by 1 to 43, which is prathamanidishtam samasa upasarjanam. So in the sutram upapadam ating, which is the samasa vidhayaka sutram, the term upapadam, which is prathamanidishtam, which is prathamantam padam, I should say, that indicates a term upapadam in the sutra upapadam ating is ending in prathama vibhakti, and from that we understand that which is the upapadam is gets the upasajana sanya by the sutram prathama nirdishtam samasa upasajanam. So in our case right now, the upapadam is dvibhyam, and hence that gets the upasajana sanya by 1 to 43, prathama nirdishtam samasa upasajanam. And then by the sutram 2 to 30, upasajanam purvam, that dvibhyam is placed as the prior member in the compound, so we get bhyam pa. This entire samudaya dvibhyam pa gets the pratipadika sanya by krit tadhita samasascha, and then what happens is that by supo dhatu pratipadika yoho, 2471, supo dhatu pratipadika yoho, the bhyam, the sup, which is inside the pratipadikam, it takes the look elision, and we get the form dvipa. So this compounding is done by using the sutram upapadam ating 2219, upapadam ating, which we have studied and applied in the prior examples. Upapadam ating, which tells us that we can take a upapadam and compound it with a related term, which is samarthena shabdantarena. It doesn't have to be another sup, but it is another term which is related. So upapadam subantam samarthena nityam samasyate atingaschayam samasaha. So we can form a compound as long as it doesn't end in a ting affix. We can take a upapadam and form a compound with a related term. It doesn't have to be a subantam. So in this case we are taking the term pa. This pa is not a subantam, but it is related to dvibhyam. So we form the compound using upapadam ating, and then we follow similar steps. We remove the bhyam by the sutram 2471, supo dhatu pratipadika yoho, and then we get the pratipadikam dvipa. And this will be decline like rama shabda, and the masculine dvipaha, etc. Dvipaha will be the prathama ekavachanam. So that is how we get the form dvipa. Now this is where we use the first sutram, which is supi. Now the next example we're going to take is you're going to use the second sutram, which is sthaha. That example is akhunam utthanam, akuthaha, akuthaha. No, akhunam, mushakanam, which is the mice, rats. Utthanam, stha is to rise. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Atishta Uttishta Bharata. Uttishta Bharata means stand up, Arjuna. So stha means stha is to stand or to stay. but ud plus tha means to rise up. So akhunam utthanam. Now, as we have already remarked that, as you've already seen, this doesn't denote the doer of the action. This is not kartari krit. So that is the purpose of this second sutram stha, is that we may use this affix ka following the verbal root stha to denote just the action itself and not the agent, because in the case of the agent, the prior rule supi will cover those cases. So this second sutram stha, it covers the case where we are using the affix, the same affix ka, following the verbal root stha, but now in the sense of bhave, to denote the action itself and not the agent. So akhunam utthanam is just the rising up of the rats, like the swarming of the rats. It denotes the action itself. So this dhatu is shtha gati nivruttau, and then we know by the sutram 6164 dhatuvadeshasaha, the initial murdhanya shakara of this dhatu takes the dantya sakara deshaha. Any dhatu in the dhatu partha which has a murdhanya shakara as the adi, as the first member, that takes the sakara desha when we take it to use. And then because that shtunashtuhu, which was used in creating this in bringing this shtakara desha, came because of the sandhikaram shtunashtuhu, that is now reversed, because the nimittam for that is not there. When we replace the murdhanya shakaraha with a sakaraha, then the shtunashtu reverses and we get the form stha. So when we bring the dhatu to use in the language, the dhatu shtha becomes stha. First by 6164, then nimittasyapaye naimitikasyapyapayaha. So when the cause is gone, the effect also is gone. Nimittasyapaye naimitikasyapyapayaha. Okay, so that we have now have the dhatu stha, and we are going to use the upasargaha ud with that. So we have akhu, am plus tha plus ka. Same affix ka. This is now being prescribed by the rule stha, which is we split out, which is the latter part, which we split out from 3 to 4. So this part is stha. And this on the same condition, supyopapade, when any sup is upapadam, in this case the upapadam is akhu plus am, which is ending in the affix am, which is of course a sup affix. Now in the sutram stha, the anuvritti of the term supi comes from the prior part, the prior sutram which is split out, the sutram supi. So this sutram stha also requires that there be a subantam upapadam, which we have here, akhu plus am, and that akhu plus am gets the upapad-sञ by tatra upapadam saptamistham 3192. Now the derivation follows similar steps. We remove the kakara as an it in the affix ka by lashak patadite tasya lopaha, and then we apply ato lopa iticha just like we did before, and we remove the akaraha of stha, and now we get the form akhu am ud stha. We do the compounding just as before between akhu am plus the ud stha using the sutram upapadam ating upapadam. In this case akhu am may compound with a related term, which in this case is the kridantam ud stha, and because upapadam is ending in the prathama vibhakti in the sutram upapadam ating, therefore this akhu am, which is the upapadam here, gets the upasarjana sanya by prathama nidrishtam samas upasarjanam 1 to 43, and then by 2 to 30, which is upasarjanam purvam, this Aku am is placed as the prior member of the compound. So we get aku am ud stha. Now it gets the Pratipadika Sanya by Krit Tadhita Samasascha, because this is a Samasaha. Because we use the Sutram 2219, which is the Adhikara of Samasaha. And now we remove the am affix by 2471, which is Supo Dhatu Pratipadika Yoho. Supo Dhatu Pratipadika Yoho. Now the remaining part is we have to now do the Sandhi Karyam. So what we have so far is we have Aku Ud Stha. Aku Ud Stha is what we have. Now we have to perform the Sandhi operations. First Sandhi operation, of course, is Akastani Dirgha. We get Akud Stha. And then Karicha 8455. Because that Dakaraha is followed by a Kar letter, which is the Sakaraha. This Dakaraha takes the Charadeshaha, which is in this case Takaraha, become Akut Stha. Now to complete this form, we require one more Sandhi rule, which we have not studied so far. It's an important Sandhi rule, but we need to look at it now because we cannot complete this form without performing the operation prescribed by 8461, which is Udasthastambhoho Purvasya. Udasthastambhoho Purvasya. That is nothing to do with the Kridanta Prakaranam, but it simply is a rule which is a Varna Niyamaha. Varna Niyamaha. It is just a combination of letters when they come together. When the sounds come together, what happens? It's a Sandhi Niyamaha. So we will take that one next in order to complete this form. So we'll next look at 8461 Udasthastambhoho Purvasya.